Hey everybody, it's Damon with Incap Store and Incapalooza, and welcome to the Pad Life Podcast. Today we'll be speaking with Alister Shirazi of Humboldt Pressure Wash. He started his business as a side hustle, but quickly moved it to a full-time home service business. He's doing great. He has 4 to 5 technicians, plus administrators and more. He'll be talking about his early days with marketing, door-to-door and flyers, to Facebook, Google, and a whole lot more. This is a great interview. He shares a lot of knowledge, and I hope you like it. Let's get into it. Alister, thank you very much for joining us on the Pad Life Podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me.
All right. So question, why did you decide to start a home service business, and what year was this?
Yeah, so we started in 2021, and I started it almost as like a TikTok side hustle thing. I saw some kid on TikTok making money, claiming to make $100 an hour pressure washing. And I thought, man, that seems like one of those things that all I have to do is connect with homeowners. And if I ask enough homeowners, some of them are going to be able to say yes. And it seemed like it was a low barrier to entry, something I could start like this weekend. And that's pretty much exactly what I did. I went out and made some flyers, passed them out, and I landed a couple of jobs from that. And that's really kind of piqued my interest, just knowing that it was low barrier to entry, something I can do with very little startup money. And I was looking for ways to stay busy. This was in 2021, actually.
Wow, that's awesome. So were you doing like door to door, like literally just putting flyers on people's doors?
At first, yeah, it was the fastest and cheapest way I could think of testing.
Well, it works, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
It does work. Yeah. Well, you have to test it, right? And that's the thing is for some services, it may not work. You know, for carpet cleaning, maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. I haven't tried it for carpet cleaning. But it was one of those things where I made the flyer in like 10 minutes on Canva. I sent it to FedEx, and within an hour, they printed it out. I picked it up, and I dropped off 100 of them that afternoon. And I got a couple phone calls back. And I'm like, okay, I spent about $80 on flyers. I landed 2 or 3 jobs, $400 each. And I'm like, okay, I spent $80 and I made like $1,000. That was kind of fun. Maybe I should continue down.
Yeah,
this
that's a good formula, right? Yeah, I think the exterior services can really do well with like even door knocking or flyers, because it's not intrusive, right? You're not going in their home to clean their carpet or to clean their tile and grout. You know what I mean? You're outside, so I think the customers feel safe or safer. You know what I mean? There's that safe distance. So yeah, I think the flyers and door knocking is definitely a great way to go about it. You originally started with exterior services like the pressure washing, and it seemed like you're kind of hit the ground running with that. And then you made the move into interior services with carpet cleaning. What brought that about? What made you decide to add carpet cleaning?
So exterior services is really seasonal. You know, we can't really be outside with a pressure washing machine in the rain, and people typically are going to want this exterior services in the summer when, you know, they can be outside and enjoy their house. Where I have my business based in Humboldt County, Northern California, it gets really wet and rainy in the off season. So about August or September, we had been going for a few months at that point, and I had hired my employee, Nate, who's an active member in the group also. And he, I wanted to make sure that he had just quit his job. He basically quit his job to come work with our company, with me. And I wanted to make sure I did everything in my power to make sure that I had enough work for him to stay busy. And so, anticipation of the slow season, I started thinking of services that I can add to my business that were going to make us survive the slow season. And it just came to mind, carpet cleaning. And I knew absolutely nothing about carpet cleaning, like nothing. I never even thought about it. Like it was something I'd never even considered before. But I figured, hey, how hard could it be, right? I mean, you don't need a degree. It's not exactly like engineering, rocket science, right? So I went out and I made probably one of the biggest mistakes of my whole career, which I bought an old carpet cleaning van. And
I remember that, the truck mount. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was the biggest pain in the butt. You know, all kinds of problems. There was no mechanic nearby to fix it. I couldn't get any kind of parts. It was constantly breaking down, you know, and it was expensive to run, expensive to maintain, really loud. And it kind of got to a point where I eventually found Pad Life, and I started learning about VLM, very low moisture cleaning. And I was like, wait a minute, you mean I didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on this truck mount? So that was basically how I started. I needed to find a service that I was going to be able to weather the storm, figuratively and literally,
Yeah, right.
get through our rainy season. And so I bought a carpet cleaning machine, and I figured, hey, this is the way I'm going to get into this business. Started cleaning my own carpets, and started advertising the service after that.
Yeah,
The
you bought
cool
a
thing about
swirly.
yeah. So the cool thing about, being good at marketing and being good at, kind of having some experience in business is the actual service really matters, because if you can follow the recipe of how you get clients and how you, and how you do your marketing, then all you really have to do is change the creative, and you're able to quickly generate business for almost any service. So
Right, becomes interchangeable, right? So you go
yeah.
from pressure washing in the summer months and in the fall, and then you're switching gears to carpet cleaning from
Yeah.
early
Literally in just a
winter
f yeah, in
to
just a
spring.
few minutes, all I had to do was create a video of myself cleaning some carpets, and then I launched the Facebook ads, launched a website. That was pretty quick, and we're off to the races. We had some jobs.
That's
I remember
awesome.
my first advertising special I was running was 3 rooms for $99. And I had no idea. I thought that's just I always saw these coupon saver type ads and stuff, saying $99, $99. I thought like, okay, I can make money like this, but I quickly realized the $99 special is not the way to run a business. But that was
Well, that's
one of
why
those
I think
lessons I've learned.
a lot of cleaners kind of make that mistake out of the gate, and that's
Yeah,
the most important thing is that you learn from it and
yeah,
you change your
absolutely.
pricing schedule.
Yeah.
Have you adopted any other interior services besides carpet?
Um, Sadly, no. I think we're trying to get into a few different things. We're trying to get into tile and grout. We're trying to get into. I mean, we did upholstery, so we brought on upholstery. We
Hmm.
got a tiny little machine,
Hmm.
hot water extraction unit, portable, that we use for upholstery.
Hmm.
But there's a lot more that we could and should be doing in the interior space, especially in floor maintenance services.
Sure.
But we haven't really been focusing on that as much.
Understood. The carpet's keeping you pretty busy though, correct?
Yeah, we stay consistent with the carpets. It's one of those things that it helps us to get in the door of a homeowner, and once we're in the door of a homeowner and build that relationship, we can have a customer for life if we perform and do what we say we're going to do with a smile.
Right. No, that's awesome. How often are you able to cross sell services? In other words, when you're talking to a customer and say you do a carpet cleaning job, does that oftentimes lead to pressure washing work or
Yeah. So once we have a customer in our database, we have a follow up sequence. So a couple things happen. First of all, they see our name, right? Our name is Humboldt Pressure Wash. And
Mhm.
so they say, "Oh, you guys do exterior cleaning. You guys do pressure washing." Yes, we certainly do. And so, after 3 months after the service, they get a text message, say, "Hey, are you ready for your follow up service? We offer these additional services as well. You get 10% off." 6 months after the service, they get another text message. So, basically, once we have that customer in our database, we try to get them to, follow our social media, and just kind of we have them in our ecosystem, so then we can communicate with them down the road. Another method that we use is, the customers from 1 year ago. We're going to call those customers and say, "Hey, we got your carpet cleaned last year. Just so you know, we are offering gutter cleaning services, window cleaning services, pressure washing. We'll gladly help you out with any of those as well." If we give them a good experience, then why wouldn't they want to get those services with us as well?
Oh, absolutely. Now, when you say you call them, like, you're literally picking up a phone or somebody that works with you, and you're literally calling them like, "Hey,
Literally
this is
calling them.
Alister. This
Yes.
is Nate, whoever it is, and I just want to
Yeah.
see if you want to get your windows cleaned. It's that time of year. It's spring." I think that's a really good idea, by the way. And
Yeah.
not a lot of cleaners, not a lot of service providers do that. They
Yeah.
rely on text and email, which I understand, but I do think making a phone call probably has a tremendous ROI.
Yeah,
I would
people
think.
hate it, but it's old fashioned, um, and that's the value of having a good system, a good software in place, especially a CRM, to where we can easily go back and look at what customers got their services done a year ago, and quickly pull a list and see, what they got done, what they didn't get done, and easily be able to call them and track who we called, how many times we called them, mark them booked or mark them for follow-up, as opposed to just, um, waiting for them to contact us again or putting it in a spreadsheet and not really having those mechanisms in place to follow up properly.
Right, right. Does the cold call, not cold calling, but does the actual hand dialing have a pretty good conversion rate? I mean, do a lot of people actually say, yeah, hey, come on out?
You know, it's it's not super high, but I'd say it's probably higher than text messaging.
Okay.
Because even if somebody's interested over text messaging, you still have to, get them to book, and
Sure.
that can be some back and forth, and then they lose interest, and it's not really a huge
Absolutely.
priority. Whereas,
Yeah, it becomes impersonal, right? I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think when
Mhm.
you rely on the texting and even the email, sometimes it makes it far more impersonal of a service versus you
Yeah.
calling them up, and
Well, it's
being
also this
Alistair or being Nate.
exactly. It's also the speed of which you have them on the phone, you have their attention, you can get them locked into a date, and instead of having them lose their attention over a few text messages, you can easily say, hey, let's get you locked in for this date. And if it doesn't work out on that date, we can always reschedule, but at least this way we can reserve your spot. And if we need to, sometimes we can move the schedule a little bit, but typically that's one of my favorite lines, by the way. And I feel like that's like one of the secrets I developed is I say this line. I'm just going to tell you how I say it. So yeah, what we can do, I know you may not be ready to commit right now, but what we can do, go ahead and put you on the schedule tentatively for the 15th of February. You can always reschedule, but at least this way we'll be able to reserve your spot on the schedule. Sound good? And when I put it like that, they rarely ever do reschedule, and it happens sometimes they reschedule. But what you're doing is you're creating some kind of commitment, and even if it's like a tentative commitment, you're more likely to have that person actually become another paying customer than if you just say wait for them to give you a date or wait for them to call you back with a firm time and date. You have to like move them through the funnel, and one of those steps in the funnel is getting them booked, whether or not they actually are able to do it. I would rather book 10 jobs and cancel 3 than book 3 jobs and miss out on 7. That makes
Oh,
sense.
absolutely. No, 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 I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Are the people that is this primarily for exterior services, by the way?
Um, our market has a lot of students and a lot of renters, which is a good and bad thing. On one sense, we don't have a lot of repeat customers for carpet cleaning, but the property managers in our area require that customers or require that renters clean their carpets upon move out. And
Right.
because it's such a college town where we live, there's a huge turnover of students constantly. So we get to take advantage of that. They call us, they need to have their carpets cleaned because it's in their contract. So we don't get a lot of repeat business for carpet cleaning. Some of them, we do get some repeat business though.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you're doing the phone calling, I mean, are a lot of those people for exterior services, gutter, window? The reason I asked, let me say before
Yeah.
you have to answer, is because I would think that your scheduling model, which is a great idea, would be easier with exterior services, right? Because they don't have to be there for you to pressure wash their driveway or soft wash their home or clean their gutters,
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Hmm.
You can just send them an invoice, they pay it or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's carpet cleaning or upholstery, what have you, they generally are going to be there.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's kind of a mixture of both. But yeah, that's a good point. People feel comfortable about letting us around the exterior of their home. They don't have to leave a key for us. We don't have to worry about locking up, any of that kind of stuff. So it's definitely easier. But as far as repeat business, it's really just kind of a mixed bag. We get a lot of repeat for windows and gutters and house washes and stuff like that. We also do a lot of roof cleaning. The idea behind roof cleaning is that you don't have to do it every year. Every 3 years is kind of where that's at. So some of our services need to be done regularly, in particular window cleaning and gutter cleaning, and other services, you can do it once every few years. You may not need to wash your house every year, for example.
Hmm. Hmm. So as far as your exterior services, you started with pressure washing,
Yeah.
right? And then you added, do you know what order you added your other services in and where you're at?
Yeah. let's see here. The order, I'd say we added window cleaning pretty soon after. I kept seeing these guys on TikTok and on social media
That's a
going
big
door
one.
to
I make
door.
$1,000 a day. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And I was like, bull crap. And I actually went to try this myself. I went out and I bought this window cleaning kit, right? It's called a water-fed pole, a deionized system, a
Mhm.
water-fed pole. And it cost about $1,500, which seems expensive, but the same week that I bought it, I literally went door knocking. I went and knocked for about 3 hours, and I booked $3,000 worth of services in my first day of door knocking. And I
Obviously, you
was
didn't
like,
do it all that first day. It was a lot of those follow-ups and stuff like
right,
that.
we
Okay.
booked them. Yeah, we booked them. And it wasn't all window cleaning, but that was like my introduction, you know. And I just kind of followed the pattern that I saw these guys on social media doing. And you know, some of them ended up being pressure washing, some of them ended up being gutter cleaning, some of them ended up being house washing, others window cleaning. But door to door is extremely effective. I loved that. And that was like one of those things where it was mind opening for me that you could literally step outside of your house and go spend a few hours and you can generate income. Um, that being said, I tried door knocking a few times after and I didn't have as much success. I learned that when you door knock is very important. The season that you do it is very important. All these kinds of different things. But anyone out there looking to get started in the industry, door knocking is free. You know, it just takes your time and you're getting exercise, walking door to door, meeting people face to face. So very, very effective doing door knocking.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
think you're 100% right. And again, I believe that with exterior services in particular, it's effective. I think
mhm,
if you're trying
yeah.
to get inside their home, different ball
That could
game.
be a little tricky. Yeah, let me come walk
Yeah.
around your carpets real quick. That could be a little
Yeah,
tricky.
yeah, living in your house, you know what I mean? You're a stranger knocking
Yeah,
on their door. But I
yeah.
think on the exterior services, you're 100% right. And I'm glad
So
you got
another
to that. Go ahead.
so and then this past year, one of the things that contributed to our growth was realizing our potential for cleaning roofs. And roof cleaning was one of those things where I was kind of hesitant to get in on the beginning because we didn't know anything about it at first. So we would do one here, do one there. But as we kind of grew our confidence and grew our skills set as a team, we started doing more and more roof cleanings. And we realized that instead of doing like a $400 house wash, we could do $1,000 roof wash. And you know, that just was a big game changer as far as our revenue creation and revenue growth for this past year in 2023. We really went heavy on roof cleaning. So yeah, you know,
Is
and
there
then
not a lot of competition in that category?
um there are a few guys, and especially I think that a lot of competition has popped up in our area because they've been seeing me and my ads on Facebook and seeing us on social media crushing it.
Mhm.
So I feel like we have contributed to the growth of that industry in our area, but it definitely was needed and definitely, um, you know, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things that maybe not everybody's going to seek the service out, but those ads did really well for us on Facebook. They see the ad and they get curious as to how much we can do it for, and we give them a price quote, and we're able to lock that job up.
And these are like, I'm assuming the Facebook, video ads, right? Where they see the
Yeah,
dramatic change in appearance from dirty to clean.
yeah. Facebook
Okay.
videos and also pictures. I mean, these days it used to be that video way outperformed video. Excuse me,
Mhm,
video way outperformed photos. But
mhm.
these days you can get really good results using photos or videos. So
Interesting, interesting.
yeah,
We're gonna get back to the marketing here in a minute, but
yeah,
let me ask you very quickly. This started as a side hustle, like you said, in 2021. So then in the following year, you took it a little more seriously, right?
yeah,
Decided to make it a full-time business. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
And you saw a dramatic increase in revenue, right? If I'm not
yeah.
mistaken, in our pre-interview conversation, you did something like approximately 60,000 your first year as a side hustle, which is actually very good. Um, and then since then, you're in the $400,000 range,
Yeah, last year we did
correct?
about 450,000, and our first year we did 60,000. So we went from 60,000 to 450,000. And really the 450 was our first full year in business. I had a full-time job when I started this, and that's kind of why it was a side hustle. My friend Nate basically said, "Hey, I'm looking for some extra work. Why don't you book those jobs and I'll go do the work?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" You know,
That's awesome.
the marketing is something that came easy to me. And so we just had an arrangement together where I did the booking and then he did the work. And, we started to grow from there. And he started to handle more and more work. Eventually, he quit his day job and came to work with me full time. And then it was just a matter of increasing the marketing, increasing the capacity, increasing the marketing, adding new services, adding new, tools, and just kept, going there. You're pulling levers, you're pulling the demand lever and you're pulling the supply lever. And that's how you grow a business.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Tell us about the structure of your business. Now, you actually work remotely. You're in San Diego, right? And I know you started on the ground, but then you moved to kind of a remote model.
Yeah.
And how many people do you have up in Humboldt doing the work for you?
So this right now during this season, it's a little bit slower. We had to kind of put a couple guys on furlough, but we have about 5 or 6 full-time employees. And I live in San Diego. The business is in Humboldt County. I'm able to manage it completely remotely. The way that I was able to do that, first of all, I started the business without me really being a full-time member because I had a full-time job. So I was always hiring the employees and then having my my friend do the work, and I was the one doing the back end stuff and all the admin. And so it's I kind of forgot the question. Where were we going with this?
Just the setup of your operation. Basically, you're paying them as subs, or you're paying them as hourly?
No, they're full-time employees. I give them what I think is a very fair, generous wage. The team works extremely hard. It's not easy to do what they do, and I wish I could pay a lot more, but I pay what I can afford. And basically, I take care of everything, and they just do the work. So, I make sure that we have the equipment that we need. I take care of the marketing. I take care of the admin. Take care of the payroll, the insurance. I make sure that the money's coming, gets collected. I have a salesperson that goes and gives the estimates in person, and I have an admin person handling all the calls. So for a while, I was doing the phone calls, I was doing the estimating, I was doing all that kind of stuff. But now that I have an admin person handling the communications with the customers, I don't have to speak to customers anymore. And I have a salesperson that actually physically goes to each job and gives them a price quote, which was a big part of how we grew this year too. Because before I was just giving quotes over the phone. And I noticed that when we moved to the in-person estimating, we were able to get higher tickets and a higher close ratio. And I did the math before I hired the salesperson, and I figured, okay, if we're able to increase our close ratio by, let's say, 20%, and as a result of being in front of the customer, we can increase our ticket price by about 20, 30%, then the math works out to where I can pay this person to do that work, the estimating work, and the net would be positive. And so we went ahead and made that hire. That was a really hard hire to make because it was a salesperson is an expensive hire. But if you do the math and it works out, then it makes sense, which it did for us. So yeah, we have 3 or 4 guys doing the work. We have an admin person who is located in the Philippines, handling all the customers, follow up,
A VA, basically.
VA, yep, she's full-time. And then we have the salesperson that handles all the estimates and some of the customer communication as well. And the salesperson, he also does some of the kind of operations type stuff, make sure that the warehouse has everything it needs, make sure that the mail gets picked up, the checks get deposited, those kind of things.
Is your salesperson paid an hourly, or is it commission based, or a mix?
Mix, yeah. So he gets a flat salary per week, basically. plus a stipend for vehicle. So he's on the road all day, so he needs to be paid a certain amount for reimbursement in gas. Although he drives an electric vehicle, still got to reimburse that. And then he gets a commission based off of the sales he makes. So most salespeople aren't going to, they don't like commission only. They like a certain level of security.
Sure.
And, so that's what I was able to provide. And he's a full-time employee too. He's W-2. And all the employees are full-time. I think that's important for their stability and for the stability of the company. You don't want people coming and going as they please. You want to be able to have people that are committed to being a team member. That's why we did it that way.
Right. Now, when you did the door knocking initially, when you kickstarted the business, was that there in San Diego, or were you up in Humboldt doing that?
That was in Humboldt. Yeah, that was in Humboldt.
And that's going to be a follow-up question, just so you know. So you actually go to Humboldt somewhat regularly, right, to check on the operation?
Yeah. So
okay. So go ahead.
I moved back to San Diego in December of last year. So it's been a full year that I've been in San Diego full time. And that was the period that we went through that kind of rapid growth where we went from $60,000 last year to $450,000 this year. And I think I went back maybe 4 or 5 times last year. And one of the reasons why I went back even that much is because we launched Christmas lights last year. So that was the first year where we did Christmas lights, and that took a lot of hands-on stuff. I had to, teach the salesperson, teach the crew how to install them, and that kind of thing. So I go there once in a while. The business always does way better when I'm there. Does way better when I'm there. I go on the sales calls. I go on the jobs. I handle these issues that that get neglected. So it's super, super important that I make those trips. I should be making them more often. It's not an ideal situation. Ideally, you live in the same place that your business is, but I'm also super grateful that I was able to set it up this way because it fits my lifestyle. I personally miss and love the sunshine, and where I live up there in Humboldt, we don't really have a lot of sunshine. So, or the business is up in Humboldt, we don't have a lot of sunshine. So I was able to live here in San Diego with my family. I'm born and raised in San Diego, and operate the business in Humboldt without having to actually be on the ground.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So basically, you started in Humboldt and then moved back to San Diego. And now you're basically doing quality control visits to Humboldt, new addition of services. That's awesome. Have you had a lot of turnover with staff in Humboldt?
Honestly, no.
Nate's been with you since the beginning. I know Nate.
Nate's a day one. Yeah, Nate's a day one. For sure. And no, I mean, the guys, when they come, they stay. I think that's difficult for some people as business owners for a couple of reasons. First of all, business owners don't like to let go. They think that, only I can clean a carpet, only I know how to do this. When in reality, your job as an owner is to make sure that you are able to teach these services to other people, because it's not rocket science. You can teach them. You have to have a way to evaluate their learning experience, make sure that they're being controlled for quality and being managed in the beginning stages, but they can pick up these services quickly. I've been fortunate that, I don't know whether it's unfortunate or what, but I think building a team is one of the most important parts of owning a business and running a business. You have to be the kind of person that people want to work for if you want to be able to grow a company. That's one of the essential skills.
Absolutely.
And I have a certain management style that has worked for me as an employee, and I kind of pass that on. And it's number one, empowerment, and number two, respect. I don't look at them as employees. They're not employees. They're my partners. They literally are my partners in business. I don't have, maybe if I had 50 employees, I could look at them as employees, but they're not. They're very much partners in my business. I work for my employees. My employees don't work for me. I work for my employees because if at any given time I don't show the respect or the leadership that they need in order to be successful, then they'll leave and find somebody else. But we have a team, we have a really, a community, and that's what people want to be a part of. They want to be a part of this growth. They want to be a part of some place where they feel valued and respected. And I try to pay as much as I can. I mean, this isn't exactly, a high, like, software engineer type job, and I wish I could pay those. And if I could, I definitely would pass on those
Sure.
earnings to my employees. But I pay them as much as I can. I give them as much respect as I can, and I empower them to not be micromanaged on a daily basis,
Right.
and let them use their best judgment on how to function on a day-to-day basis.
Are the techs like Nate and the others, are they performance based at all, or is it strictly salary or hourly?
It's strictly hourly. I think performance pay is great, and I'd love to move to that at some point in time. Um, for now, I'm pretty much just paying them as much as I can afford to, and I hope that soon we can move to a performance-based pay where I can even increase their pay more based on performance. Um, but because we're so small, we don't really have slackers, So um, I think performance pay is great. I just haven't implemented it in my business yet.
Sure. So being so far away, being removed from the business, how do you ensure that the work is being done properly, the way you want it to be?
Yeah, that's a huge, huge issue. That's probably one of my biggest issues as far as managing the business remote. I don't get to be there to make sure that everything gets done correctly. I know that things are getting done correctly because of the feedback that we receive from customers. If we receive negative feedback, I give it to our team. I let them know, hey, customer said this, customer didn't like this, and I also pass off every single positive feedback to our customers as well. I don't just tell them the negative stuff. I celebrate every time we get a 5-star review,
Mhm.
and if somebody's not doing something correctly, it becomes evident very quickly because customers typically are going to complain about it. So, um, you know, it's a challenge. It's one of the biggest challenges. All I can say is that I try to provide that feedback as quickly as possible, and and if I'm seeing repeat things happening, then I bring them up with our team. And if as long as we're not getting too many complaints from customers and we're getting a lot of 5-star reviews, then I know we're doing something right.
That's awesome. You do a lot of follow-ups with the customers post work, like soliciting reviews or just feedback in general. Is
Yeah,
that
something we implemented this past year also is a thank you call. So the day after every single job, a day after a customer gets their job completed, we complete a thank you call. And there's a few different objectives to this thank you call. The first thing is to make sure that the job is paid, because sometimes they pay with credit card and didn't go through or whatever. Second thing is to ask them for a review. I say, hey, we sent you this review. If you think we deserve a 5-star review, please feel free to give us that feedback. Otherwise, if you have any issues, please let us know. We'd be happy to make it right. We also offer to book their follow-up service, try to book them for 6 months down the road, something like that. Although we really have had really low conversion with those repeat bookings on the thank you call, we still find it valuable to have that touch point one day after. It's just extra face time with the customer. It's one more time that the customer is hearing your name, and one more opportunity for us to correct anything that's wrong, and to make sure that the customer is actually satisfied with our service.
that's
Um,
excellent. That's
yeah,
really smart.
they
Who's
also
making
receive a
those? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh,
They
they
also
also
receive
receive
what?
a
I
text
apologize.
message the day after saying, "Hey, John, thank you for your, thank you for being a customer. Um, would you like to book your follow-up service for 10% off?" And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, what kind of service?" "Oh, we do this, this, and this, and this: carpet cleaning, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, roof cleaning, house washing, driveway." And so that's an opportunity for us as well. So it's text message and phone calls on every customer the day after they complete their service.
That's awesome. Who's making that follow-up? Is that your VA or is that the tech itself or is that you?
Yep, that's the VA. Yeah, I try to have most of the communications go through her. That's just her job, and she's friendly and does a good job at it.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. So we talked earlier about some of the marketing, the door-to-door marketing, which has been very successful for you. Facebook marketing has been huge for you.
yeah.
What else are you doing for marketing?
So I'll say this: if you are trying to grow your business, you have to try everything. And you can't be the one to decide whether or not something works or doesn't work before you've even tested it. Facebook marketing works really, really well for us because I know how to do it. For carpet cleaning, it can be a little trickier, but Facebook marketing is very, very effective if you're doing it correctly.
You're
Facebook,
referring, I guess, to pressure washing then and the exterior services.
yes, but it's also very effective for carpet cleaning as well.
Okay.
Is it? Is it the most effective? I don't know. That's for each market to decide for themselves. But I've tried everything when it comes to marketing. I've tried all the online services, and I had to see for myself whether or not these services made sense for our business without taking the advice of people in groups or somebody else that had a bad experience. If I listened to other people, I probably never would have tried Facebook ads. And a lot of people don't know how to do it right, and they try Facebook for a week and decide it's not for them, and they move on. And
Or they
so,
pay someone else.
yeah, paying somebody else is hard because then that really eats into all your potential profit.
Absolutely.
But what's worked for us is number one, Facebook works amazing. Number two is Google, right? There's Google local services, and then there's Google ads, and then there's organic Google, and then there's Google business. So you have to have that laid out as kind of like the foundation. You need to have a decent website that's easy to find, good SEO. You need to have your Google profile. You need to have as many reviews on there as possible. Be posting regularly on your Google profile, your Google business profile.
Yeah.
You need to, the Google local services is great. The problem with Google local services is it's not scalable. Anyone that's used Google local services will tell you they will put the budget at the maximum. They'll put the budget at $5,000-$10,000 per week, but it'll only spend like $800 a week because that's how many people are looking for your service in that area. So once you've maxed out Google local services, that's when I would go to something like Facebook, which maybe have a lower conversion rate, but is something that gets the leads flowing, and you now have the ability to follow up with those potential customers over a period of time. So it's not necessarily one or the other. It's this and that and that. What we're doing with marketing is you have to build a machine in which you put dollars in and you get dollars out. And as long as the dollars coming out are greater than the dollars that you're putting in, why wouldn't you continue to invest in that machine? So that's how we look at it. I don't look at it as, oh, I spent $1,000 on ads, or my marketing budget is $2,000 per month. My marketing budget is as much as I can handle and still receive a positive return on investment. Like if I put $1,000 in and I get $2,000 out, I'm going to continue to put $1,000 in that machine until I no longer get a positive return on investment, and then I'll look for other places to invest in marketing. So
could you quickly explain for people that are watching and listening that may not differentiate the difference between Google local service ads and Google, what you said was the paid ads, which I'm assuming would be pay-per-click?
Yeah, so there's Google local service ads. That's the Google guaranteed. So if I search carpet cleaning in San Diego, it's going to come up with a few businesses that the customer can call right away, and they're interested. They're looking for your services. They want to find carpet cleaning. They clicked on your button, and now they're calling you to book that service or get a price. That's Google local services. It's also known as Google guaranteed. And Google ads is the paid search. So when you come up as sponsored, if you're search carpet cleaning, if you scroll past the Google local services or the Google guaranteed, you're going to see sponsored, sponsored, sponsored. And those are Google ads. That's paid search advertising. So that's the difference between those two.
And then the organic, where you're not paying anything at all, you're just showing up naturally.
Yeah. So organic is going to be where I have a website where, for example, my business name it's very important. It's Humboldt Pressure Wash. So if somebody is looking for pressure washing services in Humboldt, they're most likely going to put in the words Humboldt Pressure Wash. And just naturally, our business page is going to pop up as one of the first results because it's a very close match to what the customer was searching for. So that is an example of how SEO works, and that's how you're going to show up higher. Is if you have the content of your website matches closely to the search query that the customer is putting in, and if you can cover all the different grounds of what a customer might put in to search for your business, then you're going to show up higher in the organic results.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Are you managing your Facebook ads and your Google ads, everything yourself?
Yeah, that's one of my specialties. It wouldn't make sense for me to have to pay somebody else to do it. It's once you get good at it and set everything up, it doesn't take that much time. And so that is what I spend a lot of my time doing, is making sure that the leads are flowing. That's one of my main responsibilities with my business. And the reason why I'm able to manage it remotely is because my responsibility is to get as many estimates on the schedule and to get as many leads flowing in as possible. And if I can do that, then everything else pretty much will fall into place.
Got it. That's awesome. Have you used any other platforms like Yelp or Thumbtack?
Yeah, I've used them all. I've literally used them all.
Do you have any success with those?
Yelp, I had zero success with. Zero. Some people love Yelp and have great success with Yelp. So just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean that you shouldn't try it. I've
Absolutely.
tried Angie. I've tried Angie Ads, which is different than Angie. So there's Angie Ads, which is basically there's Angie, which is basically customer says, I need carpet cleaning in San Diego, and it's gonna send that customer's information to 4 or 5 service representatives in the area. That's Angie, or Angie's List. Angie Ads is more like Google Ads, where if somebody searches for a particular service in your area, then you show up as a preferred member. And then when they call you, it's going to be an exclusive lead. They say it's exclusive. I'm not 100% convinced, but Angie Ads actually worked really well for us too. So Angie Ads, you pay a monthly fee. Angie List, you pay per lead. I had better success with Angie Ads than Angie Leads. So that's just for me. I've tried Thumbtack. Thumbtack is actually decent. I like the Thumbtack, the way that they allow a customer to completely book a job. You set your prices, the customer goes through, say what they want. They book the job, they book the time and date that they want it. The price is already set. And that one actually worked pretty decent. And the cost ended up being pretty low. Like we would get confirmed bookings for like $15 or $20. I feel like that was pretty decent.
Are you still doing that now, or?
So I was doing that in San Diego. They actually are not available in Humboldt because of how small it is up there. And I'm no longer operating in San Diego. So I would do it if they allowed it up there. But I am doing Angie's List up there still. And it's just another opportunity for us. If we are the best, and I believe that we are, and our market is not hugely saturated. So we want that opportunity. We want every opportunity we can, because we believe that we're going to win.
Have you done any print marketing, like Every Door Direct or anything like that?
The only experience I have with print marketing and mail type marketing is I've done. There's a feature in House Call Pro that whenever a customer completes a job, you can automatically send them a postcard, either the day after or like a month after or whatever. We had a really, really low success rate on that. So I did that like once or twice, like a few blasts, and I really haven't tried it again. Door hangers, putting up door hangers around your job that you're working at.
5 around.
Exactly. The 5 arounds. That's a very effective method.
Does that you get returns on that?
Yeah. That one's a little bit harder to track because you don't always know where the door hanger came from. And sometimes we just do door hangers randomly. So that was a little bit harder to track, but we get jobs from that as well. And that's also good exposure because they really can't miss it. It's on their doorknob. So that's just a good one for exposure.
Sure. Any yard signs, anything like that?
We tried yard signs for the first time this past year in like November, December. We got a few jobs from it. We also had a couple close calls from our city about not putting them up. And luckily, I've heard from other people that use yard signs, when the city calls you to say, "Hey, come pick up your signs," that's sometimes when they'll have a nice little ticket waiting for you. So I just
Uh-oh.
didn't pick them up. Yeah. So we tried that. We got a few jobs from it, but it's just one of those things you gotta be really tricky. It's really gotta be really careful. It can be tricky. You don't want to have to deal with fines and stuff like that. So you gotta be a little careful with that one. I don't know. We might do it once in a while, but you gotta be. We live in a small town, so it's really easy for people to recognize us, and we don't want to ruin our relationship with the city or the community as well. So kind of
Absolutely. No,
stay
that
away
makes
from that. But
perfect sense.
we got a
I
few
got you.
jobs from that one.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So what hasn't worked in terms of marketing? What would you say has been like kind of a flop? Like something you would say like, I'll never do that again.
Print, like newspaper, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Zero return on that. We did radio, zero return on that. I think one time I tried $300 a month for 3 months on radio. Didn't get not only did we not get a single job, we didn't get a single lead. We didn't get a single phone call. So pretty much $900 down the drain. But hey, you have to try these things. You have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in the scheme of things, I mean, it's small potatoes, right? If you look at like
Yeah.
$900
Yeah.
over, course of a year or 2 years, and
Yeah. Because
you're
what
right.
happens
And
if
then
it works?
you learn a lesson, and it's something you
Exactly.
can revisit later, but odds are you never will. That's fine.
Exactly. You
Uh,
know what else did work for us
mhm.
surprisingly well is flyers in different community boards. So in the beginning, we would go around and post some flyers on like the college campus or on cafes or on different message boards around the city. I don't think a lot of places do this, but for some reason in our community, they have these different message boards all over the place, different where they
Humboldt, you're
put like,
referring to, not San
yeah, in
Diego, right?
Humboldt.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They have a lot of these different message boards where you can like post flyers of events or services that you have. And so we did a few of those. And then I had a guy that was offering the service for like $300. He would print out like 80 flyers and go within like a 50-mile radius and just post up like all 80 flyers and all the different known spots that he has. And we got a surprising amount of business for that. Definitely good ROI on that. And so $300 to pass them all out, and one job will more than pay for that. And we got multiple jobs each time we post them up. So
That's
that was another thing
awesome.
that worked
And
really
then, like
well.
you referred to earlier in the conversation, door to door and
Yeah.
leaving the little door flyers and stuff like that when
Yeah.
you're not
I'll
talking to
say
somebody.
this. You know, you have to at the very least, you have to have the platform, which is Google and Facebook, and door knocking, I guess. But Google and Facebook now is 90% of our business. Like that's just
Mhm,
what it is. Google and
mhm,
Facebook.
mhm.
And so people try to overcomplicate it sometimes, but and that's pretty much it. Google and Facebook represents about 90% of our business now.
Any success? One more, I forgot about two more, I should say. Any success with Instagram or TikTok?
So when I run Facebook ads, it also shows on Instagram.
Okay.
So that's
Part
part
and
of it.
parcel, right? Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got you.
it's part of it. But TikTok, no, I don't think TikTok is very good for local services. Although they have TikTok ads, which might be interesting, I just don't feel like our demographic is on TikTok, and definitely not organic TikTok. So just posting
Yeah, I think
stuff
TikTok is more of a place for products, if anything.
could
People
be
are
something with
buying
more of a
tangible.
nationwide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and tangible. Something they see in a demo, they want to own it. Yeah,
yeah.
no, that makes
Yeah,
perfect
but
sense.
for some, what might work for some services is TikTok ads, where you can target a specific area, geographic location. But I I don't think our demographic homeowners are typically on TikTok. It's just a different demographic, so we haven't even experimented with that one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Would you mind sharing how much you're spending on marketing every month?
Yeah, so I think we're at around 4,000 a month. It'll probably fluctuate between 3,000 and 5,000 a month.
Okay.
Right. And people
So
think that's
rough.
crazy, like, oh, $5,000 a month on marketing. I'm like, well, yeah, but we did like $70,000 last month. You know, like why would we? Why would we not?
Mhm.
Why wouldn't I? If I spent $5,000 and got 70,000, the crazier question, the more realistic question would be, well, why didn't you spend $10,000 and get $140,000? Unfortunately, it
Yeah,
doesn't scale like that. It's not linear. At a certain point, you get diminishing marginal returns. So that means that
sure.
each individual unit that you invest, you receive a diminished marginal return. And so, but it's not about the amount that you spend, and people can't get their mind around that. It's crazy. I'm not going to spend $5,000 a month. Well, two things. First, you don't start at 5,000. You start at 1,000, and once you book $2,000 of jobs, you have a choice. You can keep $1,000 for yourself and go buy yourself some Happy Meals, or you can take that extra $1,000 and increase your marketing budget and reinvest the profits back into marketing. And then, so instead of, now that $2,000 is going to get you $4,000 because you have a 2-to-1 return on ad spend. So that's how I've done it. I've always been able to reinvest the money back in, and as long as we're getting a positive return, I'm going to continue to invest that money.
Yeah, and looking at your numbers, 3 to 5 thousand a month, and you're doing about 450,000 a year thereabouts. I mean, you're around 10% plus or minus a little bit on marketing, which is not outrageous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Um, I did a survey a few months back in the Facebook group Pal Life, which you're an active member, and a lot of other people. And I asked where people were falling short. And there were a lot of options for answers. I feel like I'm falling short on the technical side. I feel like I'm falling short on the marketing side. And those got a lot of checks, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people said those two categories. Customer service, I think you're the only person that acknowledged that, which I think is really, honestly, is a credit to you, because not a lot of people will admit that kind of shortcoming. I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily great on the service end of the business. What was happening then, and what have you done to correct that?
After a certain point of dealing with customers, it can be really frustrating to deal with customers, basically. I get sick of customers sometimes. And as a business owner, sometimes we're so close to the money. And when a customer wants a refund, or they're being cheap for some reason, that's basically money out of our pockets as the owner. So I learned that I work better when there's a buffer between myself and the customer. And so that's a lesson that I had is, uh, I love customers when everything is going well, and in small moderation, like where I am now in the business. When I do interact with customers, it's always very, very pleasant. But if I'm dealing with customers all day long, day in, day out, I'm gonna get sick of them sometimes. Um, I remember I was on a job with a couple of my teammates recently, working on a job, and this customer was being so picky, so picky. Every single spot on the house, they're like, "What about that spot right there?" And it was like exterior work. It's really hard to get it a perfect job, but we charge high prices, and so customers have high expectations. Now, I'm not normally on the jobs, but in this case, I was on the job with the customer, and you know, one of our team members is probably not going to like lip off to a customer, but something about, you being the owner, sometimes you're like, you can't talk to me that way or whatever. And so I remember I was kind of being a little snippet with this customer. And I just remember thinking, you know, that there's a reason why there's a buffer between, myself and the customers. And I think that can serve a lot of people well, because we get too attached to, or too close to it. And so that's something that I've been trying to work on, is putting that buffer between it, and to where my customer interactions now are always like super positive and fun and friendly, because I don't have to be in it every single day.
Sure. No. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. And I'm assuming having the VA as kind of an intermediary as well helps,
Yeah.
because they're
That,
making the contact on the follow-ups. And
yeah. And also sometimes when there's, handling customer escalations. So a customer's mad about something. Oh, you guys missed this spot on my driveway, so I want a full refund. And my first response would be like, "You're crazy. Like, we watched your whole thing, and that, we did a great job. We did everything. Now you want a full refund because of one small thing." But you have to take a step back, and sometimes if that happens to me, where I do handle a customer escalation, and I'm not handling it super well, sometimes I'll have, our sales manager or somebody else reach out to that customer and just be like a third party objective member that's going to help de-escalate certain situations, because customers can be rough sometimes. Customers can be tough
Sure.
to deal with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you take, just out of curiosity, do you take before and afters of the work so you can show or document what you've done?
Yeah, we try to do it every single time. That's one of those things that it happens a lot more when I'm boots on ground.
Right.
Sometimes our employees can forget to take photos. Nate, if you're watching this, talking to you. We got an app called Company Cam. I mean,
Sure.
one of the reasons why people are, the team doesn't like to take photos is like, I don't blame them. It's like you don't want a camera roll full of your work all day, every day. So with Company Cam, the images go directly to the cloud. It's easily shareable. Splits it up by job. You can show before and after. So that's something that we do. But a couple times it saved our butts. Both in carpet cleaning and in exterior cleaning. One time, a customer blamed us for breaking a spindle on their decking, when it's obvious that, to me, it's obvious, to the customer it wasn't, but a pressure washing can't break a spindle on a deck. And luckily, we had before pictures, and I was able to point out to the customer that the spindle was already broken. Another scenario where there were little bleach marks on a carpet where somebody had used some kind of product to clean a carpet. And after we finished, and I noticed it right when I got there, I took pictures. After we finished the job, she starts going, what's all these marks on the carpet? I'm like, those are bleach marks. Those were there before. And here's the proof. So definitely
Yeah, that
take
definitely
pictures
helped you there.
before
Save your
and after.
bacon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, one of the things I like also is that you talk about projects that were incomplete. You're kind of a serial entrepreneur in a way,
Yeah.
right? You've tried all these different kinds of projects. What would you say has been your biggest mistake in business? Like one of the biggest takeaways, and with that mistake you're trying not to make again. You know what I mean? Like,
If I knew what the biggest mistake I made was, I probably would have achieved more success by now, because whatever it is, I don't feel like I've achieved the level of success that I'm looking for in life. So I don't know if I've exactly figured out um, what mistakes I've made in the past and what I need to do to achieve what I want to be in life. Because if I had figured that part out, I probably would have been closer to my goals right now. But I can say this, that any business will work if you play the long game. It doesn't necessarily have to be the perfect business, but if you stick with something long enough and you become a master at that, then you play the 10-year game instead of the 90-day game. And you go deeper instead of wider. I talk about how I have a graveyard of failures. I literally have 25, 35 websites that I've started up, businesses that I wanted to quickly test, but none of them that I was willing to go the distance on. So, one thing is just going deeper into something instead of necessarily going wider. However, I will say that sometimes if you're in the wrong industry, it doesn't matter how good you are at business. If you're in the wrong industry, then you're going to not have the success that you're not going to be able to live up to your potential. For example, if you're trying to sell newspaper ads in today's digital marketing world, I don't care how good of a I don't care how good of a salesperson you are, you're not going to sell a ton of newspaper ads because newspaper is a marketing that's in decline. So, I think it's not a bad idea sometimes to know when to jump ship. But, being able to stick with something on the long term. Another thing that I've learned is it's very important to have a personal brand. So I've tried a lot of these different businesses. Um, and if you know who Gary Vee is, he's a very
sure.
famous online marketing guy. He got his start in the wine business. So if he had branded himself as Gary the wine guy, he would have been boxed into a very small niche that would have been hard to get out of. And a few different times I've tried to spin off brands that that didn't necessarily go the distance. But I feel like if I had focused on my personal brand and documented my journey of going through these different things, then, personal brand is forever. As long as you're alive and possibly afterwards, you may have a personal brand. But trends change, products change, services change. And so, I think you need to be able to develop both, as being able to have a strong personal brand, and then, also being able to niche down when necessary. Those are the
Yeah,
things I'm
no,
working on.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
One last question about the marketing and customer service and all that.
Yeah.
What CRM are you using?
So I use two main CRMs. I use one for the front end and one kind of for the back end. We use House Call Pro.
Okay.
One thing about House Call Pro is it's amazing what we are able to do in our time right now to start a home service business that you wouldn't have been able to do 10 years ago. Like the way that you can scale a business using a software like House Call Pro. I mean, you see it in the industry still, like some of these older guys are still using pen and paper,
Yeah.
but it's nearly impossible to scale a business like that. It's just very, very challenging. But these days, for $70 a month, you can have access to an extremely powerful platform that used to only be available to the elites in the industry. So
Right.
if you're not taking advantage of a CRM, first of all, you're missing out both on revenue and on growth, and you're just working way too hard. So House Call Pro is how we book our jobs. That's one. The second thing we use is Go High Level. Go High Level is kind of like the Black Knight in the marketing industry. It is a scary, powerful platform that is extremely undervalued. And these days, it's becoming more and more noticed because people are understanding the value of it, and it's hard to ignore. But it's relatively new, and the amount of features and upgrades that they're coming through is just incredible. But you can follow up with clients. You can, track customers in the pipeline. There's so much to it. But Go High Level is basically how we handle the marketing, how we follow up with clients, how we keep track of who's booked and who hasn't booked. You can set up amazing sequences using email, text messaging, ringless voicemail drops. It works really well. Has a really nice app. It's hard to overstate the power of a tool like Go High Level. So that's one of my secrets.
Sure.
So many people are hesitant to spend a little bit of money on a CRM, and it's like, oh yeah, I just keep all my customers in my phone. Oh yeah, I have them in a spreadsheet. And I'm like, man, if you just would become more organized and get a high-powered CRM, you would cut down on so much work, and you'd have a much more scalable business that works without you. I think people like to work. I don't know. They would rather spend hours, dealing with spreadsheets and paper and all this kind of stuff than spend $100 a month on a good software that's going to do most of that for them.
Yeah,
So
no, that's a very good point. Like you said, especially the veteran cleaners, they really haven't adopted technology like they
yeah,
should. And I think it's hurting a lot of them because they've provided a great service. They're great technicians. They've built a strong book of business, but they're not bringing on new clients. They're relying on that existing book and referrals, but not really utilizing that data they have for emails, for texts, for, like you said, voice or the voicemail, ringless voicemail, etc., where to keep that contact going and develop that book of business. And I think that's really starting to hurt a lot of them because their competitors are more aggressive in the marketing.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of almost the opposite to where these old school cleaners, they have all their customers in their phone or in on paper and pen, and so a lot of them need to rely on fresh blood. They rely on fresh, business every single day, every single week. They have to go out fishing, fishing, fishing when they have a refrigerator full of clients that they're not really, taking advantage of.
Yeah,
So
if they're doing any fishing, I said I think a lot of them don't even do that.
yeah.
They don't have sites that are optimized. They may not even have a website at all in some cases. They're not doing social media. But I hear what you're saying. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's in a lot of cases, unfortunately, it's even more extreme than that. I think they rely on the inbound calls from their book of business and whatever referrals they might get. And that's
and it's so
tougher
easy and so cheap to do these days. Like it's, you can have a website built. It's so easy and so cheap, and you don't have to have an amazing website, and you don't have to pay a lot of money, but you do have to have a website. You do have to have these profiles filled out. You do need to have, your Facebook page. You do need to have these things. And that's like the bare minimum. And a lot of people aren't doing even the bare minimum. And then they're wondering why their business is declining year after year.
Yeah, no, very good point. Quick question, going back to the CRMs for a moment. Do you keep House Call Pro because it actually maintains the booking of the jobs and the data?
Yeah. House Call Pro is,
in other words, you haven't migrated exclusively to.
They do different things and they work really well together. So House Call Pro has a really nice technician app where where our technicians can see all of the job data. They can see their schedule. They can collect payment through there. There's a lot of things that we can dispatch them to particular technicians. The on my way text messages. There's just a lot of things that House Call Pro does really well. And then we sync it with both Go High Level and House Call Pro. And so House Call Pro has some big gaps in it. And that's when we use our, other Go High Level service to fill those gaps. And in my eyes, you need both. Unfortunately, neither of them are good enough to where they can be completely standalone. And, and you have to kind of have both at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah. So being remote, being in San Diego, you'd actually started doing some of the work yourself there. You decided to put that on hold and just focus on building Humboldt, which you're doing a great job of. That's giving you a little bit of free time. So you're doing other things now besides just the Humboldt business. What else are you up to?
So I love the home service industry because there's a low barrier to entry. Almost anybody can enter, and there's a lot of different ways you can go. One of the downsides to the home service industry is if you start to do the math, then the amount that you can earn tends to be very limited. To where, let's say I scale this business to $1 million per year, and in best case scenario, let's say I have a 30% profit margin. I believe $1 million per year would be like the most that I'd be able to do in my market. And so that would mean at a 30% profit margin, 300K would be the most that I'd be able to earn. And it kind of hit me, and I'm like, well, if my ultimate life goal is to make millions per year, it sounds funny to say, but hey, if that's what you want, don't be afraid to say it, right? That's my personal life goal. Is I want to make over $1 million per year minimum, right? And you do the math on what you're currently working on, and you realize that if you continue down that path, it doesn't align with your ultimate life goals, then you need to make sure that what you're doing and the actions you're taking on a day-to-day basis are in line with the path that you want to be walking. And if they're not, then the sooner you can pivot, the sooner you can begin to work towards what you ultimately are trying to achieve. And so these days, I'm working on a few different projects. Firstly, I'm working in real estate. I'm working in what's called a wholesaling real estate right now. Basically, I'm taking my same Facebook ad skills and I'm trying to find people that are interested in selling their homes. And then I try to match them with investors or buyers. This is something that you don't need to have a license to do. And so I'm kind of experimenting with that. We just closed our first deal last week, and that's a lot of fun.
You receive like a commission, basically?
Yeah, you receive the spread. Yeah, so basically, wholesaling real estate is where you are selling the right to purchase a property at a given price, and you're not selling the property itself. And that's the loophole where I don't need a license. So instead of actually selling the property, I am signing a contract with this customer and getting the rights to purchase this property at a particular price. Now, if I find a buyer that's willing to pay more than the price that I have that contract for, then I can assign that contract to that new buyer, and I get to keep the difference between what the seller said they would sell it for and what the buyer is willing to pay. And so that's the game. You find you find good deals, and you find people that are willing to pay a little bit more than you got the property for. That's wholesaling real estate, and that's kind of what I've been working on right now.
Okay, very cool.
Another thing I'm working on is podcasting.
The A-lister show.
The A-lister show. Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. Yeah.
I felt like podcasting has just been like the ultimate life hack for me recently. And I kind of got this last year when I did a podcast with a guy named Ryan Fox, who is one of the leaders of Clippa, who's also going to be at the
Capalooza. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a minute. Absolutely.
So I did an interview with him, and he told me that he did $1.2 million in lights in like 3 months. And I just learned so much from that podcast. And that's one of the things that sent me down the road to exploring Christmas lights. And several other different instances that podcasting has given me networks, access to a network and access to knowledge that I didn't have before. So the more that I invest in that, it just compounds everything. Like I literally can, well, not literally yet, because sometimes it's hard to get certain people, but I can get access to information that other people can't. If I wanted to pay a consulting fee to learn something about real estate, I may have to pay thousands of dollars to someone that's been in the industry. Or I can invite them on my show. We can have a discussion. I get to ask every single question that I'm curious about, and we get some great content. The guest, they get to have some great content. They get to build their notoriety as a entrepreneur, and it's a win-win situation. And the bigger that I'm able to grow the podcast, the more notable guests that I'm going to be able to have on the show, and the effects just compound. They compound one after the other. And so I'm focusing on the podcast. It's also a lot of fun. You know, when you think about what it took 10 years ago, 15 years ago to have your own show, you wouldn't be able to have your own show. And these days, all you need is a camera, and you can invite people onto your show, and you can have a YouTube channel, and it's, basically free. And that is awesome, where I could never have my own show on NBC or whatever, but screw NBC. This is the A-lister show. This is my show.
Yeah, no, you're doing a great job with it.
It's a lot of fun.
I think you're doing fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's going to continue to grow. Absolutely. You did mention Capalooza a minute ago, and that's the event we have coming up next month. That little yellow cup next to your shoulder or your knee or your elbow. Jeez, wrong with me. That's it right there. InCap store is definitely a part of Capalooza, along with Orbot and all kinds of other exhibitors, and Steve Pike and Courtney Lee and Tommy Mello and yourself. You'll be on our marketing panel. It's going to be a great environment. You were there last year. For anybody who's involved in the cleaning business and they want to grow their cleaning business, they definitely want to go to Capalooza.
Absolutely. Yeah. This workshops in general, last year was the first time I ever went to any. And then last year, I think I went to 3. And
you went to the big show or big event, whatever it's
called?
I
went to Capalooza,
Huge.
And I went to Clippa. And before last year, I never went to any. But, the connections you make, the education that you gain, the insights that you learn, and it's worth it. It's worth it. If you can make the trip, you definitely should. And it's fun. You go meet some people, learn some things. At the end of the day, you're in Las Vegas, so you really can't lose.
Yeah, we have a lot planned. And Clippa, which is the Christmas Light Installer Pro Association, I believe that's it. They're going to be there. And you actually brought on, like you mentioned earlier, Christmas lights this past holiday season. And it did really well for you, correct?
It did. We did like almost $50,000 in our first year. We landed a city contract, and now we have all this material that we're going to be able to use next year. So profit margins are going to be fantastic. It was a great learning experience. Customers love lights too. It's not like washing or something or cleaning something where it's like, ugh, I got to clean this. No, they are so excited about having lights in their house. They love it. And it's really cool to be a part of a service that people are actually so thankful to have it. I was blown away by how much people pay for Christmas lights. I could not believe it. Like before I heard about this, I would imagine, okay, $150 to hang Christmas lights. No, people pay thousands of dollars to hang Christmas lights. Thousands. We got a couple. My first job, my first estimate, I went out to the customer's house. and I quoted high because I was expecting a little bit of haggling. It was $2,070, and she didn't blink. She's okay, let's get it. And wrote me $1,000 check for a 50% deposit. And we booked her. And then the following 3 estimates that day went exactly the same, like $2,000, $2,000, $1,700. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. So
it's a booming business, and it's amazing.
yeah,
Like you said, that people are willing and wanting to invest that into their homes. But look, if you have a family, if you have kids, these things are important because it creates
yeah,
memories,
it's so important.
and it's it really does beautify your home, the neighborhood, and hey, if you got the money for it, why not? In the
Yeah,
scheme of things, it's in a lot of respects not that much money.
yeah, yeah,
And if you're a professional person and you're pulling down a big salary, you're not going to think twice about it because frankly, you don't
yeah.
have time to do it yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't. Why would you? It's dangerous.
Yeah, or you just don't have time. All kinds of
Hmm.
reasons. And yeah, the
Yeah,
ladders and everything else. So I'm
yeah,
glad that's
yeah,
working out for you. Last
yeah.
question, Alister. What are going to be your 5 tips for anybody starting a home service business?
5's a lot of tips, but let me see if I can give you a few. Okay, so the first
Number
thing
one,
is, what's that?
number one.
Number one is don't look at marketing in terms of dollars. Look at marketing in terms of return on investment. You're putting dollars in, you're getting dollars out. As long as that amount is positive, then you should continue to invest. And don't think of it as a budget, a fixed budget. That'll be one. Number 2
2. Yes.
is you need to have a solid CRM. Solid CRM. You need to know who your customers are. Keep track of their work and have an easy, seamless way in order to communicate with them. And for that, you need to have a CRM.
Number 3.
Number 3, experiment with new services. A lot of people, if they get in the carpet cleaning business thinking that it's going to be a full-time thing, well, in the beginning, it may only be part-time because you don't have enough work to sustain you. That's when you need to experiment and offer different services. If you can make an investment, small investment in a piece of equipment, and you do the math and you can easily make that money back, go ahead and make that investment and try to, and just try new and better services.
Yeah, and also
So,
helps you utilize your account, right? In other words, if you have
yeah,
500 customers and you can offer them 5 different services, and I think the home service, we really aren't carpet cleaners anymore, right? We're really
yeah,
home service providers. I talked to Eric Olson about that in the previous podcast, and it's really changed quite a bit. I mean,
yeah.
you're either offering dryer vents or pressure wash. I mean, it goes all over the place. But yeah, I agree. Other services matter. Number 4.
Number 4 would be to invest in good content for your business. And what I mean by that is have somebody come out and record you or your team doing the work. Take good pictures before and after. I mean, a lot of people throw together their Facebook ads or they throw together a couple of, marketing pieces. Pay somebody $300 to come out for a day and follow you around, take pictures of you, your team, your truck, and your work, your before and afters. That stuff pays dividends and it makes your ads so much more effective. So that $300 you'll spend, you're going to get it back in tenfold over the next several years because you're going to continue to use that content over and over and over again.
I think that would fall under the umbrella of kind of like branding, I guess, in a way, right? Because you're doing quality content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. 5,
I would say continue to invest in your knowledge base. At the end of the day, if you have the knowledge, then you're going to be able to, you're going to be able to grow your business. People are sometimes afraid to go out and pay money to learn new services. Courtney Lee, for example, he has this hardwood floor training thing and costs, I don't know, a couple thousand, whatever it costs. But if somebody were to invest in that, they would see 10, 20, 30, 40 fold return on that investment. So, don't be afraid to invest in education, especially when it makes sense and you can know for sure that you're going to get some kind of return off of it. So at the end of the day, somebody can take everything from you. They can, your business can shut down. You can lose all your money, this and that. But if you have the knowledge that you have to get you someplace, then Their knowledge can never be taken away from you, and that's what's going to be permanent through the whole thing. So you can build it all back up again if you have that knowledge. That's why it's so important. So invest in the knowledge, both skills and sales knowledge and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say the sales part of it as well. I mean, education is beyond even just the services, like Steve Pike, the On Track program. I mean, there's just so many different ways to improve your education on every front of your business.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Number one, just to reiterate, money in, money out. As long as your marketing is bringing back some return, keep at it. Number two, have a good CRM. Number three, don't be afraid to adopt new services. Number four, branding is critical. Put out good content, record good content, create a brand. Number five, education in every facet of your business.
Yeah.
Excellent information. Alister, thank you very much. I'm going to have a link to your A-lister channel in the description of the video.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate taking the time out with us today, and really, really, really good stuff, man. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys out in Kapalooza.
See you in Kapalooza, buddy. All right. Take care.
Bye.